You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for Better Call Saul. And I was looking forward to this episode since last week when I saw it was going to focus on Mike, who was another one of my favorite characters from the Breaking Bad series. And when I first saw the first episode of Better Call Saul, because I didn't really follow too much on the trailers and such, and I saw he was in it, I was very excited. And this was really good episode. It really gave us a little backstory on Mike and maybe answered some questions we might have had, and really finally showed us some emotions from Mike, something we've never really seen before. We knew he had a soft spot for his granddaughter, but I mean, just some solid acting, some solid performance, and it's amazing how this episode we got to see very little of James McGill. It was all focused on Mike and the investigation of the Philadelphia cops on him. Obviously, they feel very strongly that he killed the two cops, which he did, obviously doing it out of vengeance for his son. And we learned just where Mike began being he was a dirty cop, and then eventually transitioning into a hitman working for a big-time drug dealer. It was just a really emotional episode. I'm watching it, and it's very conflicting because we find out that Mike essentially convinced his son to become a dirty cop, and he dreaded it, but it was more important to Mike that his son stay alive and go with the status quo. And then at the same time, you could almost, you could admire Mike's son even without really meeting him or knowing who he is because of the way Mike spoke about him, how his son had strong convictions about being a good cop. And even after he finally listened to his father, because his father was only looking out really for his best interest and his family's best interest, Mike's son still turned around, Maddie, his name was, and was murdered. And it was such a good episode. I mean, there's really nothing here to delve into a breakdown. It was all at you, right in your face. This is Mike. This is how it started. This is what happened. And this is how he became the man that we know in Breaking Bad. And, Mike he has such a good poker face. Even when speaking to his daughter-in-law, he had such a good poker face, trying to just move past the whole topic when they were talking after he was playing with his granddaughter. And obviously his daughter-in-law also has strong convictions of her own, dead set on finding out who the murderers were, which she did eventually find out. And then finally that was that. She knows now, she more or less knows that Mike killed those two men. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. And we see that Mike was once in a very dark place. And it's amazing that he actually chose James, but then I guess he figured, who else is he going to call? He probably doesn't really have a lawyer to begin with, and he just happened to have James's card on him, and he called James down just for one thing only, which was to spill the coffee. And I got to say, I really did think that James was going to kind of use his gift of gab to get him out of trouble, but he actually went through with spilling the coffee, and I think that's probably going to start that relationship, albeit probably a rough one. Obviously Mike doesn't like many people, and there's nothing Saul could ever do, or James rather, could ever do to really like him. But he knows just by that move that, okay, I can call him. I know that even if he doesn't want to do it, even if he's against it, he's going to go ahead and do it. And it's going to be interesting to see now how that's going to develop going forward. James has a lot of interesting people surrounding him. He still has Nacho and Tuco, which we haven't really, they really haven't delved back into yet, which I'm a little surprised. Obviously now Mike is in the fray. We saw this week's episode on the highlights for next week's episode that, the McKiddles, I think that the name is, Kettlemans. I almost lost their name for a second there. The Kettlemans are still very much in the mix and are looking now to him because they know he's a dirty lawyer. They seem to have accepted the fact that they're criminals, so now they're going to go to him. But this is a strong episode, a really strong episode. It really gives a whole new definition and a whole new perspective on the character of Mike, which is a great character to begin with. Now we get to see him. And, if this show is obviously we know that Mike is more or less going to make it through this whole series. However long this series is going to be, whether it's season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, he's going to be there. So what's going to be great is to see not only how James becomes Saul Goodman and goes that route, but how Mike continues to progress and evolve from on this show into what we eventually know him to be in Breaking Bad. And that's exciting. It's almost like you're getting two shows in one, because I really think the character Mike can be a show in and of itself, and a very badass one at that. So it was just a solid episode. There's really nothing more I can say. I was so involved in the episode. I was so into it. You know, I could sit here and, let's break this down. There's no need to. It was right there in your face, man. It was right there in your face. I love that they just threw it out there. This is Mike. This is what it's all about. This is what happened. This is how it starts. And, you know, just seeing him in action, every time he's interrogated, he's got such a great poker face. He's just such a phenomenal character. Very stone cold, but very just. He's very, very just. And, you know, he doesn't kill for pleasure. It's always business. And, you know, he's definitely the kind of guy you want on your side. That's for sure. So this is a great episode. A really, really good episode, especially when you consider that the star of the show was hardly on it. And it goes to show that the content of this show and the writing can go far beyond just being focused on Saul Goodman. Obviously, Mike is a strong enough character to carry the show as well. And I think that's just an indication of what we're in store for as the show progresses and evolves from this point going forward. So just a great episode. There's nothing more I could say. It was just a really, really good episode and really emotional. And I like the expansion we got on the character Mike. He's one character, like I said, I've always wanted to know more about him. And before this episode, I didn't know how far they would take it with Mike. I didn't know how deep they would get. But this showed me, this episode, that they're going to go very deep with that character. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this. There's really nothing else to say. It was a badass episode. But anyway, that's it. That's it. Next week looks like it's going to be just as good. I'm really liking Better Call Saul. I think it's really slowly starting to pick up. You know, the first few episodes were slow, and that doesn't mean they were bad. They were good. But it seems to be getting better, and it's getting better with gradual build, and I like that. Kind of reminds me of the first season of Breaking Bad. It was a very good season, but when you compare it to the other ones, it wasn't nearly as good because they used that season to gradually build the momentum, and I kind of get the sense of that here too, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be great. Anyway, guys, that's it for this review. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit E.T.N's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.